Hi everyone. I'm just waiting for this to set up. Okay. All right. I'm feeling a bit blurry. Maybe. Hold on. It's all right. Sometimes when I come on here, it asks what quality, and I usually do the lower one, so it's not quite as blurry. But hopefully the replay, it looks blurry to me, but I think you guys are probably all right. Okay, just give me a hi in the comments, of course. Make sure you let me know you can hear me. I'm on my laptop again. I still haven't got around to figuring out my my webcam on my main computer, but hopefully I'll get to that soon. So back on the laptop, and I know sometimes it has trouble with sound. So I've got my headphones in because I seem to find if I've got the headphones plugged in, the sound seems to work all right. So definitely let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm just going to come here and hopefully I might even, hold on, turn this other computer on so I can never read the comments in this the laptop very well. So I'll put my other computer on, and that way, yeah, see, no comments are coming up, but I know people have commented. So anyway, also excuse the bump on the head. I had a little accident the other day. So all right. So today on this Tuesday chat, I thought we could talk about copyright as for artists. I have talked a little bit about this in my membership, but I was watching in another group, they were talking about it, and I thought, oh yeah, we could talk about that again actually, because I don't think I've done that on a Tuesday chat. And it is something, it's really quite important to sort of know where you stand, sort of thing, and don't get yourself in trouble, especially if you're a realist artist. That's where a lot of times we can come unstuck because we're very good at copying a photo reference to really high likeness. So that's why as a realist artist it's really important to know where you stand with those copyright issues. I'm still waiting on my other computer to open up so I can read any comments. But anyway, so as I'm talking, make sure if you've had any issues with copyright, let me know in the chat, or if you've experienced anything similar to what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, I'd love to know. So definitely pop that in the chat and I'll check that as we're going. All right. I wish this computer would open. I just want to double check that you can hear me. What is going on here? Password. Hold on guys, sorry, my computer all of a sudden wants a password, which has never ever asked for a password before. So, alright, I'm so unorganised, honestly. This would be so much easier if I could just read the comments on my laptop, but for some reason it just won't let me do that. Okay. Let's just go here, oh, here. Okay. Alright, I just want to change this to that. Okay. Alright, I'm getting there. Like I said, I really need to be able to see that you can hear me. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and keep talking and no one will be able to hear anything I'm saying. So, you can hear me? Alright, I'll make sure I talk up. Okay, great, I can see. Cool, thanks guys. Okay, so, make sure that's in. So, copyright. So, as an artist, there's a couple of ways, I suppose, copyright for our own work. So you could have what's called work for hire, which that's where, say, a company sort of contracts you to create a design for, say, their packaging or something. So you create an image for that particular, for that company, and they retain all the rights. Your name's not on it or anything, so they keep all the copyright. They could then create that, use that artwork again and again and again, over and over, for anything they want. Okay, so they just pay you a one-off fee for you to create the art, and that's it. You're done. It's no longer your art, it's theirs, and they can do what they want with it. Okay, so that's sort of work for hire, but that's probably used a lot more for graphic designers, illustrators, all of that. But as a fine artist, where you're creating like really original pieces of art, you might not want to do that. So you can also sell your work to companies, but you maintain the copyright. So there would be a contract drawn up that shows that you maintain that, and in that way they use your design for a product. So for, say, a greeting card, for, dot art, that dot art, artists design photos that they use, paintings that they use for dot art. There's jigsaw puzzles. You think of all these products that have particular designs on, but if you maintain the copyright, a lot of times it shows your name as the artist on that, and they buy the rights to use that on a particular product. So then, say in a year's time, they decide they want to use that design again, or your painting, on a different product, then they have to pay you again. Okay, so they can't. The contract is only written for that one product that they're purchasing it for, and then you renegotiate every time they want to use it again for a different product. And you can also, there's also different ones where they have you could have in the contract, they pay more for it, where it's exclusive rights, where you can't then go and sell that image to a different company that creates, say, greeting cards or the same thing, to use that image on, so that they have exclusive rights that no one else can use your image on, say, that dot art painting or that greeting card. So there's a different pricing structure, but I don't do any of that with my art. So that would be more when you start to look at, if you're getting into art licensing, then that's where there's a lot more contracts and stuff like that, because you're dealing with companies. Whereas when I'm selling my art, it's to individual people. So, all right. So that sort of bit of copyright for your own art. And then, of course, I suppose more for what I do and what a lot of my members and followers do is, because we do real estate work, we're probably more in the commission side of things. So with copyright in regards to commissions, you could have a contract done up. So you could just have a very basic contract that you've created yourself. Actually, I might even, for inside those of you in the membership, I might try and draw something up that we could probably put in there, that you could just change some words to suit yourself. So if you were doing, say, a pet portrait commission, you'd get your customer to sign the contract first that lets them know that you obtain the copyright for the painting, which means you can then go on to sell prints if you want, or use that image in different marketing. Or, as a pet portrait, a lot of times you probably wouldn't, and sometimes you're more than happy for them to have the copyright. But the problem with it is it's totally up to you how you want to do this. But as a pet portrait commission, for them to have the copyright, then they can take a photo and reproduce prints and everything for friends and family, etc., etc. But if you obtain the copyright, what you can do, which is a smarter business decision, is you can then set up, say, a Society 6, or I think Redbubble's one as well. You set that up with that image as prints, or on coffee mugs, or tote bags, a few different things that you can then direct your customer to at the end and say, look, here's your painting, they're going to love it. If you'd like to maybe purchase different items or purchase some prints for friends and family, etc., here's a link and it takes them to that site you've set up and they can purchase prints. They can purchase, like I said, on a coffee mug, something like that. It's a fun way for the customer to maybe buy other things off it, and you know, who doesn't want a picture of their pet on a coffee mug? But it's also a way for them to give gifts to, say, friends or family that also love the pet. But it also is a really good way to confirm to them that you own the copyright, and for them, if they want to have a printer of it, of the original painting, they need to go through you and this link to be able to purchase that, and you make a percentage off that sale as well. So as in a business sense, you're making more money as well, which is a good idea. Okay, so so that's sort of copyright on commissions, like I said, but you've got to have a sort of a very basic contract sort of written up like that your customer can sign. Plus, I also find I don't have contracts when I was doing commissions myself, and I never had any customers actually want to print. It depends, I suppose, how big a business you turn this into as a commission artist. So yeah, it's totally up to you whether you want to do that. But it like I said, it is good business sense to be able to on-sell different things from that. And I don't know, as an artist, you really probably don't ever want to give away your copyright to your artwork. So it's also a really good idea. You don't need to like legally license any of your artwork. You just need to make sure you take step-by-step photos, I suppose. I've always taken step-by-step photos, especially if you're like trying to grow a business, because you need images for social media and stuff. But it's also a good idea to have some step-by-step photos of each of your pieces. That way, if anything ever happens and someone says that's my painting, you can prove that no, it's actually my original painting and here's my step-by-step. Okay, so that's just always a good thing to do as well. Hold on, what else have I got here? All right. Yep. So okay. So that's sort of copyright when you're selling your work, I suppose, is what I wanted to share there. Now there's also the other side of it, when we're creating work using other people's images, I suppose, reference images, all that sort of stuff. So don't forget, if you have any copyright stories, let me know. Okay, so first and foremost, I would always say only use copyright-free reference images for your source, or better yet, use your own. But sometimes you can't use your own, of course. We did go through talking about the AI generated reference images as well. As far as I'm concerned, they're copyright free, especially if you're using that as a source and you're not copying it direct. But even pretty sure copying it direct, it'd still be copyright free because it's a one-off created from your text. So, all right. So I just wanted to share a couple of stories I had when it came to copyright. So as some of you may have heard me talk about this one, years and years ago I did a pencil graphite drawing of a baby orangutan. So the photographer had taken a photo of a mother orangutan with the baby sitting on its chest. So what I did was, I'm just going to put this book down. So I just love the baby part of it. So I just redrew the baby section, and because I draw realism, obviously it looked like it. So the photo, of course, was colour, and I've drawn just the baby in graphite, and I wasn't selling it or anything, but I did have it up on just my website. I've got a gallery, and I had it in there, and obviously they must have bots or whatever that can scour the internet and pick up images. So it obviously went back and to this photographer. She's American, must be quite well known. Obviously, I didn't realise at the time. And I got a solicitor's letter saying I was going to be sued because I used her image without asking permission or paying for the use. So luckily, I have a friend in America who's a lawyer, and he sort of said that, like, he guided me and said don't worry about it too much, because I wasn't selling, I didn't make any money off it or any of that sort of stuff. So I removed it off the website, and I didn't hear from her again, more or less. I just sort of said, well, I'm not paying you for it, I'll remove it, I haven't made any money, and took it off. So you've got to be aware that they do, when you're doing realistic work, they can find those images, and then you can get in trouble. So normally it's more if you're selling your work, I suppose, selling and making a profit from that. So another one I also had an issue with was, hold on, just let me double check. Here, oh, wrong side. Can you see my Ed Sheeran portrait up there? So just above my head, I've got like a pop art style of Ed Sheeran. I used to like doing pop art style acrylic paintings because they were totally different to the realism. So what I would do, I'd get a photograph of, I did one of Pink, I think, Ed Sheeran. I did a koi fish as well. So I just sort of transformed the image in Photoshop I polarized it and just picked different colors, so it was more of a pop art style. Anyway, I did have that on Etsy. Was it Etsy? I think it was Etsy. So I had that up on Etsy, and I was selling, I think I had it as prints or greeting cards or something like that, and I actually got contacted as well by Ed Sheeran's lawyers on behalf of him to say I needed to take it down because it was copyright infringement, because I wasn't allowed to sell images of Ed, which was fair enough. And so again, they were much nicer than the photographer, but so yeah, I just removed it, and I was actually selling, like making money from that, so that's why, like, straight away I just removed it. So you do have to be really careful with what you're doing. Like, with some people sort of say copyright laws are a percent, like you've got to change the image by a percent, but it actually isn't. It's called, they've got to be transformative, so not a percentage. And what transformative means is that you've changed the image enough that it gives it a completely different meaning. Okay, so it's quite a sticky sort of line, I think. I think if you had to go and hire a lawyer and prove this and that, you just don't want to go down that path at all. So now I do not use anything. I still do I haven't for years, but I could still do my pop art images and just for my own creative time, play, all of that. But yeah, certainly not try and sell stuff from it. I'll only ever use my own photos or copyright-free photos to create work from. That way you don't have any trouble, and no one's going to sue you, of course. Also, I did hear, which was similar to my Ed Sheeran one, because as you can see, that's not realism, is it? I've actually stylized that a lot, and another quite well-known artist Lisa Congdon. She's written quite a few books that you've probably heard of. Hold on, my computer just shut down. That she did a stylized fox from a photograph, obviously she found on the internet, and so really stylized as well. But she's quite well known. She did a line of greeting cards, I think, and she was sued because it was taken off a photograph that obviously wasn't like copyright free. So you just really got to be careful. If there's a photo you just absolutely love and you really want to paint it, just contact the photographer. A lot of times they're really cool with it. They love well, not all of them, but some really love it when artists use their images to create a painting from. There's a really well-known one here in Australia that we used her cassowary painting for a workshop, like when I was teaching a lesson, and she just more than happy to let us use that. Just be really honest, tell them what you want to use it for. So there's a lot that will just go, go ahead. They're quite happy for that, and most of the time all they want to do is see what you've created from their photo. Then other photographers will ask for a fee to use their photo, and that can be really expensive. And then it's very hard, I find, especially if I want to use a photo to teach a painting, so that photo is then being used by 50 students or something, then they don't understand it and they want like thousands of dollars for the use of their image. So there's plenty of other photos out there, and there's plenty of other things to draw. So I just find if I really want to use an image, I'll contact the photographer. If they say yes, excellent. If they say no, we want you to pay this, then I don't bother. I move on and I find a different reference image. And of course, you've got great sites like Pixabay, and also Unsplash is another one that the photographers there that upload their photos, they've relinquished all rights, all copyright rights to their photos. Or they've uploaded it. You'll see when you download one of their photos, they always ask, would you shout the photographer coffee, just as a little kickback for them. It's totally up to you if you want to do that. But they've relinquished all copyright to their photo. So essentially you could actually just use that photo directly to, say, a postcard or something and sell it without anything coming back on you. But, it's a bit unethical. I don't think I'd do that. We want them, of course, for our source images for creating a painting. So I think the best way, of course, like I said, is always your own photo. But I would, when I use reference photos, sometimes the photo is just amazing. You just want to paint it like as is. The only thing you fall into there, you can paint it, you can sell it, everything without anything coming back on you. But the only thing is that 100 other artists may have painted exactly the same painting, so it's not really unique to you, I suppose. I mean, your style is, of course, when you've painted it, but coincidence could be you might want to enter yours in a competition, and then someone else, unbeknownst to you, has actually painted exactly the same painting and entered it, and that's how you come up with two paintings the same in a competition, which is never good. So I would always try and suggest, as you're starting, definitely as learning, you can just keep painting exactly off the photo, but as you develop, to maybe start to create your own source images from a few different photos, like even incorporate a photo of your own, like maybe the background, or you might have a fence post or something that's awesome that you might then want to put a different bird or a lizard or something on it, or whatever, or just create from maybe 2 or 3 different paintings. That way when you have made it, it is totally unique to you. and that to me I think would be the best way to go. The other thing actually I meant to mention, when you do ask photographers permission, usually even if you inbox them, but better yet would be to email them and then keep a record of that. Just in future, say if you did this amazing painting that, in a couple of years' time, you ended up putting it on greeting cards or something and it went quite big, definitely you want reference there that you had permission. So just in case, the photographer might have forgotten and they might see it and go, hang on, that's from my photo, and they might contact you. But if you actually have kept a record of them saying, yes, you can use my photograph for your painting, then, you've got that and you don't have to worry about it then. So it's always a great idea to keep records of everything. The other thing, there's Facebook groups, of course, you can get reference images from. Only thing to be aware of with those, once you're in one of the Facebook groups, like it's artist reference photos, or there's a few different ones, just type in the Facebook search reference photos for artists and a few things will come up. The only problem I can see with those, like I was saying, as you are part of the group and sort of get to know what photographers are legitimately putting their own photos up and that, and are very trustworthy. And they do try and make sure, the admins, that it is your own photo. Like the photographers are uploading their own photos and they are giving, like, that's copyright free use for you as an artist to use it. But there has been situations where people have been uploading photos that they're not there. They haven't taken them themselves. They've found them on the internet and uploaded them. So it's kind of a bit of an honesty system. So you do have to be very careful that you may think you're using a copyright-free photo from there, but it might not be. But like I said, the more you're sort of in those groups, you'll start to see there's a few photographers that do stand out, that they're legitimately, it's their photos, all the rest of it. So just keep that in mind, because I know sometimes you just can't trust everyone, can you? And I know that one of the big groups a while ago did have that problem. They found out someone was uploading just photos off the internet, saying that they had taken them, and it caused a huge problem because there was some amazing photos, and all these artists had been using them thinking they were copyright free. So it was really hard. It was hard then, and because they couldn't share the name of the person, and you didn't know what photos it may have been that you've used. It just, it wasn't good. So, all right. Oh yeah, and the other thing, you could probably also use what I do as well with, say, Pixabay, and like I said, Unsplash is another one. You can use those images as well. That's the beauty of them, because they are totally copyright free, even on your website or on a blog post, things like that. Quite often, if I'm doing a blog post on something and say I needed an image of, I don't know, an artist studio or some paintbrushes or something like that, rather than me have to try and, my studio is not worth photographing, so we certainly don't want to share what mine looks like. If I'm talking about really nice art studios, I want one that looks really nice, or I don't want to have to try and set up like paintbrushes in a certain way or this or that. So you can just go on there and use those photos as well, or for flyers or anything. So it's such a great tool. But yeah, so all right, I think that was all I was going to talk about with copyright. Like I said, if you do have any experience or you've run foul of copyright laws like me, then let me know. I'd love to hear them. So yeah, so like we'll just recap that your main thing is to use your own photos or use copyright free. You can, if you're just posting a painting you did from a photo, it's always nice to credit the photographer as well. If you want to do that, like with the copyright free ones, you don't have to, but it is still a nice thing to just go created this painting from thanks to blah 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 for the use of your beautiful photograph or something like that, you know. And then of course if you're selling your work, you definitely need permission from a photographer if it's not copyright free. And yeah, and just with your own copyright as an artist, for commissions, don't forget to maybe set up a contract or something as you get more heavily into it. It's always good to have a contract actually for commissions anyway, that the customer signs, you know, so that they don't become a pain. You know, they don't make 100 changes every 5 minutes, and you know, and then your deposit and all that. You should always have something, I suppose, set up that they sign it, and in that sets out sort of how many changes they can make and this and that, but also the copyright bit in that as well. So probably not a separate document, it'll probably all be in the one document. So anyway, all right, I think that is it, guys. For all of you members on here, Creative Barn members, I'll see you tonight. I'll be back on again. We'll be drawing our bingo, and I'll tell you about my little accident. All right, thanks for joining me. I cannot see any other comments, so I'm hoping you don't have any questions. If you do, pop them in the chat and I'll make sure I read that later and get back to you as well. So I'm trying to work 2 computers here and it's a bit tricky. All right. Okay, thanks guys, and I'll talk to you all next Tuesday. Bye.